The rain smelled like metal and regret. I stood on the corner of 5th and Madison, my suitcase handle digging into my palm, watching the taillights of Marcus's BMW disappear into the gray November afternoon. 3 years. 3 years of cooking his meals, ironing his shirts, pretending I didn't see the lipstick stains or smell the perfume that wasn't mine. And this was how it ended, thrown out like yesterday's trash, with nothing but a battered suitcase and $47 in my checking account. The cold bit through my thin jacket. I hadn't thought to grab my winter coat. Hadn't thought about anything, really, when Marcus's new girlfriend, blonde, young, everything I apparently wasn't anymore, had smiled that sugar-sweet smile and suggested I find somewhere else to be. My phone buzzed. A text from my landlord, rent overdue. Pay by tonight or locks change. I laughed. Actually laughed, standing there in the rain like some tragic heroine in a bad movie. The sound came out harsh, brittle. A businessman hurried past, eyeing me like I might ask him for money. I probably looked the part. Drenched, desperate, invisible. That's when I remembered the card. 6 months ago, I'd been waitressing at Aurelio's, that obscenely expensive Italian restaurant where Wall Street types went to show off. It had been a slow Tuesday night, and I'd been clearing table 7 when I'd found it. A black credit card, matte finish, no name on the front, just numbers embossed in silver and a small logo I didn't recognize. I'd turned it in to the manager, of course. Spent the next week waiting for someone to claim it. No one ever did. Eventually, the manager had shrugged and told me to toss it. But I hadn't. Something about the weight of it, the way it felt expensive just to hold, made me slip it into my wallet instead. I'd forgotten about it until now. My hands shook as I pulled out my wallet, waterlogged and falling apart at the seams. The card was still there, tucked behind my driver's license, pristine and dry. In the fading light, those silver numbers seemed to glow. This was insane. Using someone else's credit card was fraud, theft. I could go to jail. But I was also going to be homeless in 3 hours. The coffee shop on the corner looked warm, golden light spilling onto the wet sidewalk. Through the window, I could see people hunched over laptops, sipping overpriced lattes, living normal lives. Safe lives. I went inside. The warmth hit me first, then the smell. Coffee, cinnamon, something sweet baking in the back. My stomach growled. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten. This morning? Yesterday? The barista was young, probably college, with purple hair and kind eyes. She smiled at me, and I almost cried. When was the last time someone had smiled at me like I was a person, not an inconvenience? What can I get you, hun? I looked at the menu. Everything was expensive. Everything was impossible. Just a small coffee, I said. Black. You look frozen. How about a large? And we've got fresh croissants. No, I can't. I stopped myself. Pulled out the black card. Actually, yes, large coffee. And the croissant. Please. She didn't even blink at the card. Just ran it through the machine, handed it back with a receipt. It worked. I sat in the corner, hands wrapped around the paper cup, waiting for sirens, for security guards, for something to happen. But nothing did. People kept coming and going. The barista kept smiling. The world kept turning. The croissant tasted like butter and second chances. I had $47, nowhere to sleep. And apparently, a credit card that worked. By 8 p.m., I had a hotel room. Not just any hotel room. The Riverside Plaza, the kind of place with actual doormen and chandeliers in the lobby. I'd walked in dripping, dragging my sad little suitcase, absolutely certain they'd take one look at me and call the cops. Instead, the woman at the desk, sleek black suit, pearl earrings, had smiled warmly. Welcome to the Riverside. How can I assist you this evening? I'd handed her the card. She'd typed something into her computer. Paused, typed again. Her smile had flickered, just for a second, before brightening into something that looked almost like respect. Of course. We have a junior suite available. Will that be suitable? A junior suite. I'd been hoping for a closet with a bed. Now I stood in front of the mirror in a bathroom bigger than Marcus's bedroom, staring at myself. My hair hung in wet tangles, mascara streaked down my cheeks. I looked like a ghost. like someone who'd already given up. The bathtub was enormous, gleaming white marble with gold fixtures. I turned on the water, watched it steam, added the complimentary bath salts. Lavender, the bottle said, for relaxation. I wasn't sure I remembered what that felt like. The water was perfect, hot enough to hurt, to make my frozen skin tingle back to life. I sank down until only my face showed, letting the heat seep into my bones. For the first time in hours, I wasn't shaking. My mind wandered back to that card. Who lost a black Amex and didn't report it? Who didn't notice it was being used? Someone rich enough not to care, probably. Or someone dangerous enough that I should be terrified. I pushed the thought away. Tomorrow, I'd figure out my life. Tomorrow, I'd find a real job, a real place to live, a real solution. Tonight, I just needed to survive. I was toweling off when my phone rang. Unknown number. My finger hovered over the decline button. But something made me answer. Hello? Silence. Not dead air. I could hear breathing. Controlled. Deliberate. Who is this? My voice came out steadier than I felt. You used my card. The voice was male, deep, with an accent I couldn't place. Italian, maybe. Or something close. Not angry. Almost amused. My heart stopped. I can explain. The Riverside Plaza. Room 1847. Very nice choice. Papers rustled in the background. Coffee and a croissant at Cafe Nero. Dinner at the hotel restaurant. The salmon. Excellent selection. And now, a pause. A bath? He was watching me. Or tracking me. Or both. I'm sorry, I stammered, clutching the towel tighter. I found it months ago. I turned it in. No one claimed it. I was desperate. I'll pay you back. Are you safe? The question threw me. What? Are you safe? He repeated it slowly, like I might be stupid. This hotel. Are you safe there? Yes? Good. Another pause. Someone will contact you in the morning. Don't leave. Wait, the line went dead. I stood there, dripping. Phone pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. Someone will contact you in the morning. That wasn't, I'm calling the police. That wasn't, you're going to jail. That was something else entirely. I should have run. Should have grabbed my suitcase and disappeared into the night. But where would I go? Back to the rain? Back to nothing? Instead, I climbed into the enormous bed with its Egyptian cotton sheets and down pillows. The room was warm. I was clean. My stomach was full. And in the morning, someone would contact me. I thought I'd never sleep, but exhaustion pulled me under like a wave. Swift and irresistible, my last conscious thought was of that voice. Deep, controlled, almost gentle, when he'd asked if I was safe, like he actually cared, like I was something worth protecting. I woke to someone knocking, not the aggressive pounding of a cop. Polite, measured, 3 precise raps. The clock said 7:14 a.m. Gray morning light filtered through the curtains. I pulled on the hotel robe, checked the peephole. A man stood in the hallway, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than my car used to. He wasn't looking at the door. His eyes scanned the hallway, professional, alert. An earpiece curled around his left ear. Security. Or worse. Miss Carter? His voice was polite but firm. I'm here to escort you downstairs. Someone is waiting. My mouth went dry. Who? He prefers to introduce himself. He. The voice from last night. Every instinct screamed at me to refuse, to barricade the door, to climb out the window, never mind that I was on the 18th floor. But I'd used his card. There was no running from this. Give me 5 minutes. I dressed in the only clean clothes I had left. Jeans, a plain black sweater, boots that had seen better days. Ran a brush through my hair. No makeup. No armor. Just me, raw and terrified. The man in the hallway said nothing as I emerged, just gestured toward the elevator, then followed 3 steps behind. Close enough to grab me if I bolted. Far enough to seem almost respectful. The elevator was mirrored. I watched our descent, watched myself looking small and pale next to this mountain of a man. Watched the numbers drop, 18, 17, 16, counting down to whatever waited below. We didn't stop at the lobby. We went down. Sub-level parking. The doors opened onto concrete and shadows, and the smell of exhaust. A black SUV idled near the elevator, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. Another man in a suit stood by the passenger door. Same earpiece, same alert stance. The rear door opened. "Please, Miss Carter." The first man gestured. I should have run. Should have screamed. Should have done anything except what I did, which was climb into that car like a lamb walking into slaughter. The door closed behind me with a quiet, expensive click. He sat in the shadows. I couldn't see his face. Not really. Just impressions. Dark hair, broad shoulders, the glint of a watch that probably cost more than my entire existence. He smelled like expensive cologne and something else. Something dangerous. Gunpowder, maybe. Or just power. "Miss Carter." He said my name like he'd been practicing it. "Thank you for joining me," as if I'd had a choice. "I'll pay you back." The words tumbled out. "Every penny. I don't know how, but I will. I'm not a thief, I swear, you were desperate." His voice was calmer than it had been on the phone. Almost gentle. "I understand desperate." The car started moving. Smooth. Silent. Going somewhere. "Where are you taking me?" "Breakfast." He shifted, and weak morning light caught his face. I forgot how to breathe. He was young, 30, maybe 32. Sharp jaw, dark eyes that seemed to see everything. Beautiful in a way that felt dangerous, like a blade wrapped in silk, the kind of face that belonged on movie screens, not in the back of an SUV with men carrying guns. Because they definitely had guns. I could see the bulge under the driver's jacket. "I'm not hungry," I lied. His mouth curved. Not quite a smile. "Yes, you are." We drove in silence. I watched the city pass. Early morning joggers, coffee shops opening, people starting their normal days. From inside this car, with its bulletproof windows and armed guards, that world seemed impossibly far away. We stopped at a restaurant I'd never seen before. No sign. Just a black door with a brass knocker shaped like a lion's head. The driver opened my door, and suddenly the man from the car was standing there, offering his hand. Up close, he was taller than I'd realized. Broader. The kind of presence that made the air feel heavy. I took his hand. His grip was firm, warm. He didn't let go right away. "My name," he said quietly, dark eyes locked on mine, "is Dante Caruso. And you, Charlotte Carter, have created quite the problem." The restaurant was empty. Not empty like slow morning, empty like closed, private, hours. The lights were dim, candles flickering on white tablecloths. And somewhere in the back, I could hear the gentle clatter of kitchen work. But there were no other diners, no waiters hovering, just us, and the two men in suits who positioned themselves by the door and the kitchen entrance. Dante led me to a corner table, pulled out my chair like we were on a date, like I hadn't stolen from him, like this was normal. "Please," he gestured. "Sit." I sat because my legs had stopped working properly. He took the seat across from me, moving with the kind of fluid grace that spoke of control. Everything about him was controlled. His posture, his expression, the way he folded his hands on the table. But underneath, I sensed something coiled tight, something waiting. A woman emerged from the kitchen, older, with kind eyes and flour on her apron. She smiled at Dante like he was family. "Buongiorno, Dante. La solita?" "Sì, nonna. E porta qualcosa per la signorina, ha fame." She looked at me, and her smile softened. Whatever she saw in my face made her nod, pat Dante's shoulder, and disappear back into the kitchen. "You speak Italian," I said stupidly. "My grandmother's restaurant." He gestured around us. "We're not open yet. I thought you might prefer privacy for this conversation." "Privacy. Right, privacy with armed guards. I really will pay you back." I started again, but he raised one hand. "Tell me what happened." "What?" "Yesterday. Tell me why you were standing in the rain with a suitcase, looking like the world had ended." The question was so unexpected, so genuine, that I felt tears prick my eyes. I blinked them back furiously. I'd cried enough. Does it matter? Yes. That one word. So simple, so certain. Like I mattered. Like my story mattered. I told him. I don't know why. Maybe because I had no one else to tell. Maybe because those dark eyes seemed to actually listen. I told him about Marcus, about the affair, about being thrown out with nothing, about the overdue rent and the $47 and the rain that smelled like metal. I didn't tell him about feeling invisible, about feeling used up and thrown away. He seemed to hear it anyway. When I finished, his jaw was tight. His hands, still folded on the table, had gone white at the knuckles. His name, Dante said quietly. This Marcus. His last name. Why? Tell me. Something in his voice made me answer. Brennan, Marcus Brennan. He pulled out his phone, not an iPhone, something sleeker, more expensive, and typed one-handed. Sent a message. Put it away. What are you doing? Nothing you need to worry about. The woman, Nonna, returned with food. Espresso in tiny cups, warm bread, olive oil, tomatoes that smelled like summer, then plates of eggs, crispy pancetta, roasted potatoes with rosemary. The scents made my head spin. Eat, Dante said. I'm not... Charlotte. He leaned forward, and suddenly the space between us felt charged. You haven't eaten properly in days. I can see it in your face. Eat. It wasn't a request. I ate. The food was incredible, rich and perfect and exactly what my body needed. I tried to be delicate, sophisticated, but hunger won. I ate like I was starving, because I was. Dante watched me the entire time. Not judging. Just watching. When I finally slowed down, embarrassed, he pushed his own untouched plate toward me. I already ate. He lied smoothly. Finish it. I can't. You can. I finished it, every bite. When I looked up, he was almost smiling. Better? I nodded, not trusting my voice. He poured more espresso, added sugar without asking if I took it. Somehow, he'd guessed right. The card, he said finally. Tell me exactly how you found it. I explained about Aurelio's, about Table 7, about turning it in and no one claiming it. He listened without interrupting, those dark eyes never leaving my face. 6 months, he murmured when I finished. I wondered where it went. You didn't report it missing? I have many cards. That one. He paused. That one was special. I kept it for emergencies. Small purchases, untraceable transactions. Untraceable. My stomach dropped. What kind of transactions? He smiled then. Really smiled. And it transformed his face. Made him look younger. Almost playful. Nothing you need to worry about, Piccola. Little one. He'd called me little one. When the charges came through last night, he continued, my people alerted me immediately. They wanted to call the police. I told them to wait. Why? Because I was curious. Someone had been using my card for hours, and they chose coffee, a hotel room, salmon for dinner. Not jewelry. Not cash advances, not anything smart. His eyes gleamed. Either the thief was incredibly stupid or incredibly desperate. And you bet on desperate. I always bet on desperate. Desperate people are honest. I laughed. Short, bitter. I'm a thief. How is that honest? You called the number on the card. You used your real name at the hotel. You stayed in one place, easy to find. He leaned back. A real thief would have disappeared. You were just trying to survive. The kindness in his voice broke something in me. I felt tears coming again, hot and humiliating. Don't. His voice went sharp. Don't cry for men like him. He doesn't deserve your tears. I'm not crying for him. Then who? Myself. The word came out broken. I'm crying for myself, and how stupid I was to waste 3 years on someone who threw me away like garbage. Dante was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft, dangerous. You are not garbage, Charlotte, and Marcus Brennan is going to learn that. Before I could ask what he meant, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something shifted in his expression. Satisfaction, cold, and sharp. What? Marcus Brennan, investment banker at Whitmore and Associates. Apartment on the Upper West Side, parents in Connecticut. Currently in his office, arguing with his girlfriend about, he scrolled, wedding venues. My blood ran cold. How do you know that? I know everything. He said it so simply, like it was obvious. Like having someone's entire life at his fingertips within minutes was normal. "Who are you?" I whispered. Dante set down his phone, laced his fingers together, and looked at me with those bottomless dark eyes. "I think you already know." I did. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I'd known since the armed guards, since the untraceable card, since the way everyone treated him like he could end them with a word. "Mafia," I breathed. Such an ugly word. His mouth curved. "I prefer businessman. You're a criminal. I'm a man who handles problems, and right now, Charlotte, you have a problem." "What problem?" "You have nowhere to go, no money, no job, and you used my card, which means you're on my radar. You've been seen with my people, been in my car. Anyone watching me now knows you exist." The implications settled over me like ice water. "Are people watching you?" "Always." He said it like it was normal, like having enemies was just another Tuesday. "Which means, whether you like it or not, you're in danger." My hands started shaking. I pressed them flat on the table. "I didn't ask for this." "No, but it's happening anyway." He reached across the table, covered my hand with his. His palm was warm, calloused. "I can protect you." "Why would you?" "Because you made me curious. Because you used my card to buy coffee and salmon instead of running. Because—" He paused, something flickering across his face. "You remind me that not everyone in this world is out to take what they can get." His thumb brushed across my knuckles. The touch was gentle, almost reverent. "I don't understand." "You will." He released my hand, stood. "Come, I have something to show you." We drove for 20 minutes, deeper into the city, to a neighborhood I recognized but had never entered. Old buildings with new security systems. Streets that looked normal but felt watched. The SUV stopped in front of a brownstone. Elegant, expensive, discreet. The kind of place that cost millions and never had a for sale sign. "Where are we?" "Somewhere safe." Dante opened my door himself this time, offered his hand again. "Trust me." I didn't, but I took his hand anyway. Inside, the brownstone was beautiful. High ceilings, original molding, furniture that looked like art. But there was something else. Cameras in corners, reinforced doors, windows that were definitely bulletproof. A fortress disguised as a home. "This is yours?" I asked. "One of many. This one is quieter, safer." He led me up a curved staircase to the second floor, opened a door. "This room is yours, for as long as you need it." The bedroom was gorgeous. King bed with soft gray linens, windows overlooking a private garden, an attached bathroom with heated floors. On the dresser sat shopping bags. Designer labels I recognized from magazines. "What is this?" "Clothes, toiletries, everything you need." He stayed in the doorway, careful not to enter. "I had someone estimate your size. If anything doesn't fit, tell me." I turned to face him. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you need help. You don't help people out of kindness. Not in your world." His smile was sharp. "No, we don't." "Then what do you want from me?" He moved then, crossed the room in 3 strides, stopped close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. This close, I could see flecks of gold in the dark brown. Could smell his cologne, cedar, and something spicy. "I want," he said softly, "to know why someone who found my card 6 months ago waited until she was desperate to use it. I want to know why you didn't run when you had the chance. I want to know—" His hand came up, fingers brushing my cheek so gently I barely felt it. "Why you make me want to burn down the world for making you cry." My breath caught. "You don't know me." "Not yet." His thumb traced my jawline. "But I will." Then he stepped back, hands in his pockets, all business again. "Rest, shower, change. At 6, we're having dinner. Here, just us." He moved toward the door, paused. "The guards outside are for your protection. You're not a prisoner, Charlotte, but you're not safe alone. Not anymore. Because of you. Yes." He didn't apologize. "Because of me." He left, closing the door softly behind him. I stood there, surrounded by luxury I hadn't earned, wearing clothes that smelled like rain and regret, and wondered what I'd stumbled into. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "The room is secure. You're safe. Rest. D. I should have been terrified. Should have called the police. Should have done anything except what I did, which was collapse on that perfect bed and sleep like the dead, knowing that for the first time in days, someone was watching over me, even if that someone was dangerous. Even if he scared me more than anything else. I woke to golden afternoon light and the smell of jasmine. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then memory crashed back. Dante, the card, this beautiful cage. I sat up, disoriented, and realized someone had covered me with a blanket, soft cashmere, the color of cream. He'd been in here while I slept. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, something warm and confusing bloomed in my chest. I showered in that ridiculous bathroom with its rainfall showerhead and heated tiles, using products that probably cost more than my monthly salary used to. The hot water felt like absolution, washing away yesterday's fear. I emerged feeling almost human. The shopping bag sat on the bed like a challenge. Inside, jeans that fit perfectly, soft sweaters in jewel tones, a black dress that looked simple until you touched it and realized it was silk, underwear. Expensive, delicate, in exactly my size. Shoes, boots, even a leather jacket. Everything I needed. Everything I'd lost. How had he known my size? Had he guessed? Or had someone been watching me longer than I realized? I dressed in dark jeans and a forest green sweater, left my hair down. No makeup in the bags, which felt oddly respectful, like he wanted to see me, not some painted version. My phone showed 5:47 p.m., 13 minutes until dinner. I opened the bedroom door cautiously. The hallway was empty, but I could hear voices downstairs, low, male, speaking rapid Italian. I recognized Dante's voice, calm and authoritative. Someone else responded, urgent. I crept down the stairs, following the sound. They were in what looked like an office. Dark wood, leather chairs, a desk covered in papers and multiple phones. Dante stood by the window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the garden. The other man was older, gray-haired, gesturing as he spoke. Ridiculous, Dante. Lei è una responsabilità, una complicazione che non possiamo permetterci. Basta. Dante's voice cracked like a whip. She stays. Sei pazzo? Il consiglio. Il consiglio answers to me. He turned, and even from the doorway, I could see the cold fury in his face. She stays. The older man threw up his hands, muttered something I couldn't hear, and stalked toward the door. He saw me and froze, eyes widening. Miss Carter. His voice was polite, accent thick. I apologize. We didn't realize you were awake. It's fine. I stepped aside to let him pass. He nodded stiffly and left, footsteps echoing through the house. Dante watched me from across the room. His expression had shifted, the fury gone, replaced by something softer, almost apologetic. You speak Italian, I said. You already knew that. I didn't know I was a liability. He moved toward me slowly, like approaching a spooked animal. Marco is cautious. He's been with my family for 30 years. He worries. About me? About what you represent. Dante stopped a few feet away. Change, unpredictability, things we can't control. And you? Do I worry you? His mouth curved. Terrify me, actually. The admission hung between us, surprisingly honest. Dinner's ready, he said finally. Come. The dining room was intimate, a small table set for two, candles already lit, wine breathing in a crystal decanter. Through the windows, I could see the garden, lit with soft lights that made it look magical. Dante pulled out my chair again, that old-world gesture that felt both protective and possessive. You don't have to do that, I said. I know. He took his own seat across from me. I want to. The food came in courses, brought by a woman who smiled at me like I was expected, like I belonged. Salad with pears and gorgonzola. Pasta so delicate it melted on my tongue. Lamb that fell apart at the touch of a fork. We ate in silence for a while, not uncomfortable, just waited, like we were both trying to figure out what to say. Tell me about your family, Dante said finally. Why? Because I want to know you. I set down my fork. There's not much to tell. My parents died when I was 19. Car accident, no siblings. No aunts or uncles who gave a damn. I've been on my own since then. Something flickered in his eyes. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. I took a sip of wine. Expensive, complex. Nothing like the cheap stuff Marcus used to buy. What about you? Besides Nonna. Large family. Too large sometimes. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. 4 brothers. 2 sisters. Cousins everywhere. Everyone with an opinion about how I should run things. Things. You mean your business? Yes. Which is? Importing. Exporting. Investments. He said it smoothly, rehearsed. Legitimate operations mostly. Mostly. He didn't apologize for it. My grandfather started with nothing, built an empire. My father expanded it. Now it's mine to protect. And me? How do I fit into protecting your empire? Dante was quiet for a long moment, studying his wine glass. You don't, he said finally. That's the problem. I don't understand. You're a loose end, Charlotte. In my world, loose ends get cut. He looked up, eyes intense. But I don't want to cut you. I want... He stopped himself. I need to figure out what to do with you. You could let me go. No. The word was flat. Absolute. I can't. Why not? Because you used my card. Because you're on cameras. In my car. In my house. Because there are people who watch me who would see a vulnerability and exploit it. He leaned forward. Because the moment you walked into that coffee shop with my card, you became mine to protect. I'm not yours. Not yet. He said it the same way he'd said it this morning. Like it was inevitable. Like I'd already agreed to something I didn't understand. My hands clenched in my lap. I'm not some possession. No, you're not. He reached across the table, covered my hand with his. You're something much more complicated. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened. What? Marcus Brennan just filed a police report. Says his ex-girlfriend stole from him and is making threats. My blood went cold. What? I didn't... I know. He's covering his tracks, making sure if you try to come back for your things, you'll be arrested. Dante's jaw tightened. Smart man. Cruel, but smart. He can't do that. He just did. Dante stood, pulled out his phone, made a call. Marco, I need you to handle something. I listened as he gave rapid instructions in Italian. When he hung up, his expression was calm, but his eyes burned. What did you just do? Fixed it. By morning, Marcus will discover some irregularities in his accounts. Tax issues. Nothing criminal, just complicated. Enough to keep him busy and make him drop any charges against you. I stood, chair scraping back. You can't just ruin someone's life because he ruined yours. Dante moved around the table, close but not touching. Yes, Charlotte, I can, and I will. That's not justice. No, it's protection. His hand came up, cupped my cheek. He threw you out. Made you desperate enough to use a stranger's card. Filed false charges to cover his own guilt. Why do you defend him? I'm not defending him. I'm saying this isn't right, right? His laugh was bitter. There's no right in my world. There's power, and there's weakness. I won't let you be weak. I can take care of myself. Can you? He stepped closer, crowding me gently against the table. Where will you go, Charlotte? Back to the street? Another hotel room you can't afford? Maybe find another man who'll use you and throw you away when something better comes along. His words stung, because they were true. I'll figure it out. Or... His other hand came up, framing my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You stay here. Let me handle Marcus. Let me keep you safe. And what do you get out of it? Time. To figure out why I can't stop thinking about you. His thumb brushed my lower lip. Why the thought of you hungry and cold makes me want to burn the world down. Why I want to wrap you in silk and lock you away where nothing can hurt you. My breath caught. That's insane. Yes. He smiled, dark and dangerous. I told you, you terrify me. We stood there, his hands on my face, my heart racing. The moment stretched, taut as a wire. Then his phone rang. He stepped back, released me, answered it. See? His expression changed. Alert. Sharp. Quando? Dove. No, stay there, I'm coming. He hung up, already moving toward the office. What's wrong? Business. I need to handle something. He paused at the door. Stay here. Don't leave the house. The guards will keep you safe. Dante, promise me, Charlotte. Don't leave. Something in his voice made me nod. He left. I heard voices, movement, then the sound of cars pulling away. The house fell silent except for the tick of a clock somewhere. I was alone in a mobster's brownstone, wearing clothes he'd bought, eating food he'd provided, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I explored, carefully, expecting someone to stop me, but the guards stayed outside. The house was beautiful, more art than I'd ever seen, books in multiple languages, photographs of people who looked like Dante. Family. Normal, smiling, like they weren't part of something dark and dangerous. In the office, I found the papers on his desk, contracts mostly, in English and Italian. Some looked legitimate, shipping manifests, import licenses. Others used words I didn't understand. One folder caught my eye. My name on the tab. Inside, everything, my birth certificate, social security number, employment records, bank statements showing my pathetic balance, medical records, school transcripts, even a photo. Me leaving Aurelio's 6 months ago carrying a tray. He'd been watching me. Not just since yesterday, since the card. I should have been furious, should have felt violated, but mostly, I felt something else. Seen. For 6 months, while I'd been invisible to everyone else, Dante Caruso had been paying attention. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Found something interesting? I spun around. The office was empty, but there, in the corner, a small camera, almost invisible. Another text. Don't be angry. I need to know you're safe. I typed back. This is crazy. Yes. But you're still here. I looked at the camera, knowing he could see me, wherever he was. Why me? The response took longer this time, because when you used my card, you didn't buy jewelry or clothes or anything for yourself. You bought coffee and food, basic survival, and something about that broke my heart. I stared at the screen, reading it again. Again. Come home safe, I typed. I will. Sleep well, Piccola. Dream of better things. I went back to my room, climbed into bed still wearing his clothes, and tried to make sense of what was happening. I'd stumbled into a world I didn't understand, caught the attention of a man who scared and fascinated me in equal measure, and somehow, impossibly, I felt safer than I had in years, even knowing what he was, even knowing what this could become. I fell asleep watching the garden lights flicker, thinking about dark eyes and gentle hands, and the way he'd said my name like it was something precious, like I was something precious, like I was finally someone worth keeping. I woke to shouting, male voices, angry and overlapping, somewhere downstairs. I checked my phone. 3:47 a.m. The house was dark, except for light spilling from the first floor. I should have stayed in bed. Should have pulled the covers over my head and pretended I heard nothing. Instead, I crept to the stairs. Cannot continue like this. Marco's voice, furious. She is a distraction, a weakness. The Valentinos already know. I don't care what the Valentinos know. Dante sounded exhausted. This isn't their concern. Everything is their concern when you make it this obvious. Another voice, younger. You brought her here. To one of our safe houses. Everyone's talking. Let them talk. Dante. A woman's voice now, sharp with worry. Marco's right. This girl, whoever she is, she's putting you at risk, the family at risk. You can't protect her and run an empire. Watch me. Silence. Then Marco again, quieter. Your father would never have... The sound of something slamming, a hand on a table maybe. My father is dead. I make the decisions now. More silence. Then footsteps. People leaving. A door closing. I started to retreat, But Dante's voice stopped me. You can come down, Charlotte. I know you're listening. Caught. I descended slowly. He stood alone in the office, still wearing the suit from earlier. Tie loosened, looking like he'd aged 10 years. Blood stained his knuckles. You're hurt. I moved toward him without thinking. It's not mine. He said it so casually, like coming home with someone else's blood on your hands was normal. I should have been horrified, should have run. Instead, I found myself reaching for his hand, examining the split skin. You need to clean this. It's fine. It's not fine. Where's your first aid kit? He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Then, impossibly, he smiled. Bathroom, upstairs, second door on the left. I found it. A medical kit more extensive than anything I'd seen outside a hospital. Gauze, antiseptic, even surgical supplies. I tried not to think about why he'd need those. Back in the office, Dante had removed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. I saw more scars, old ones, pale against his olive skin. A life written in violence. Sit. I gestured to the desk chair. He obeyed, watching me with those dark eyes as I cleaned his knuckles. The antiseptic made him hiss slightly, but he didn't pull away. What happened tonight? I asked quietly. Business. The kind that ends with blood on your hands? Yes. I wrapped his knuckles carefully, the way I'd learned when my mother used to patch up my father after his construction accidents, a lifetime ago. The people earlier, I said. They want you to get rid of me. Yes. Why haven't you? His good hand came up, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was so gentle, so at odds with the blood I'd just cleaned off. Because I'm selfish. Because I want what I want. And damn the consequences. His fingers trailed down my neck, rested against my pulse. Because your heartbeat quickens when I touch you. And that makes me feel something I haven't felt in years. What? Human. The word hung between us, raw and honest. I'm not some experiment in humanity, I whispered. No. You're something much more dangerous. He pulled me closer, until I stood between his knees. You're someone I could lose myself in. Someone who makes me forget that I'm supposed to be a monster. You're not a monster. You don't know what I've done, what I'm capable of. Then tell me. He was quiet for a long moment, studying my face like he was memorizing it. My father built this family on blood. Literal blood. He was brutal. Effective, but brutal. When he died 5 years ago, I inherited everything. The business, the enemies, the expectations. His thumb brushed across my wrist. Everyone expected me to be like him, cruel, merciless. And for a while, I was, because that's what survival required. And now? Now I'm tired. Tired of the violence, the paranoia, never trusting anyone, never letting anyone close. He met my eyes. Until you. You don't know me. I know enough. I know you worked 3 jobs to take care of a man who didn't deserve you. I know you turned in my card instead of using it immediately. I know you cry for yourself, not for pity. I know. His hand slid up to cup my face. You're braver than you think you are. I should have stepped back, should have maintained distance. Instead, I leaned into his touch. This is crazy, I breathed. Yes. He pulled me down until I was sitting on his lap, my hands braced against his chest, completely insane. His heart thundered under my palm, fast, nervous, like mine. Everyone thinks you're a weakness, I said. Everyone's right. His forehead pressed against mine. You are my weakness, Charlotte Carter. And I don't care. You should. Probably. His lips brushed my temple. But I've spent my entire life doing what I should. Making the smart choice, the safe choice. And it's made me empty. I'm not the answer to that. Maybe not. But you're something. His hand slid into my hair. You're hope. You're proof that not everything in my world has to be dark. I pulled back enough to see his face. In the dim light, he looked younger, vulnerable, almost fragile. What do you want from me, Dante? Everything. Nothing. He laughed. I don't sound broken. I want to keep you safe. I want to know everything about you. I want to wake up and know you're here. I want... He stopped, jaw tight. I want things I have no right to want. Like what? His eyes burned. Like keeping you, making you mine. Building something with you that isn't based on fear or obligation or strategy. His thumb traced my lower lip, like kissing you until you forget every man who came before me. My breath caught. Dante, tell me to stop. Tell me this is wrong, that I'm moving too fast, that you don't feel it too. Tell me, and I'll let you go. I should have told him all of those things. Instead, I kissed him. It was tentative at first, barely a brush of lips, testing. But then his hand tightened in my hair, and he deepened the kiss with a hunger that stole my breath. He tasted like whiskey and mint, and something indefinably him. His other hand splayed across my lower back, pulling me closer, until there was no space between us. The kiss was everything, desperate and gentle, claiming and questioning, like he was pouring everything he couldn't say into the press of his mouth against mine. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Cristo, he whispered. Sei la mia rovina. What does that mean? You are my ruin. He smiled against my lips, and I don't care. We stayed like that, wrapped around each other, until the sky started to lighten, talking in fragments, about his childhood, my parents, the small things that made us human. He told me about his youngest sister, about Sunday dinners with too much food and too many opinions. I told him about the diner where I'd worked at 19, about the regular who left me $1,000 tip when I graduated. Normal things, beautiful things. Things that had nothing to do with blood or cards or danger. Stay, he said finally, as dawn painted the windows gold. Not because you have nowhere else to go. Stay because you want to. I don't know what I want. Then stay until you figure it out. His hand cupped my cheek. I'll give you time. Space. Whatever you need. Just stay. I thought about my empty apartment, Marcus's betrayal, the loneliness that had been eating me alive. Then I thought about this. Dante's arms around me, his heartbeat steady beneath my palm, the way he looked at me like I was something precious. Okay, I whispered. I'll stay. His smile was brilliant, transformative. He kissed me again, softer this time, like sealing a promise. We fell asleep there, tangled together in his office chair, as the city woke up around us. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt safe. 3 days passed in a strange, suspended reality. Dante worked from home, spending hours in his office on calls in rapid Italian, while I explored the house, read books from his extensive library, and tried to make sense of my new life. He'd join me for meals, always attentive, always careful not to push, but the tension was building. I could feel it in the way he looked at me, in the way his hand would linger when he passed me something, in the way I found myself watching him, wanting him, despite everything I knew he was. On the 4th morning, Marco appeared at breakfast. We have a problem. He didn't look at me. The Valentinos want a meeting about her. Dante's expression went cold. Tell them no. They're insisting. They say you're making decisions based on emotion, not logic. They want to verify that you're still capable of leadership. I don't answer to the Valentinos. No, but you need their cooperation. The shipment next week. I know. Dante's jaw tightened. He looked at me, something warring in his eyes. When? Tonight. Neutral ground. Just you and Vittorio. After Marco left, Dante was quiet. Too quiet. What does this mean? I asked. It means I have to prove that you're not a liability, that I'm still in control. And if you can't? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. I could see it in his face. The Valentinos would demand he choose, the Empire or me. I'll leave, I said. I'll go somewhere safe, somewhere they can't. No. He crossed to me in 2 strides, gripped my shoulders. You're not leaving. Not now. Not ever. Dante, if this threatens your family, you are my family now. He said it fiercely. I don't care what the Valentinos think. I don't care what anyone thinks. You're mine, Charlotte, and I protect what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it made me feel cherished, claimed, wanted. What are you going to do? What I do best. His smile was sharp, dangerous. Remind them who's in charge. He left at 8 p.m., dressed in a black suit, looking every inch the powerful man he was. He kissed me at the door, deep, thorough, like he was marking me. Stay inside. The guards know to shoot anyone who tries to enter without my permission. That's not comforting. It's not meant to be comforting. It's meant to keep you alive. He touched my face one more time. I'll be back soon. And then we're going to talk about the future. What future? Ours. He kissed me again, briefly. Wait for me. Then he was gone, and I was alone with armed guards and the terrible certainty that tonight would change everything. I paced, tried to read, failed, watched the clock tick past 9, 10, 11. At midnight, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Carter. A voice I didn't recognize, smooth, cultured, dangerous. My name is Vittorio Valentino. I believe we should talk. My blood went cold. How did you get this number? I know everything about you, Cara. Where you work. Where you're from. The name of your kindergarten teacher. He paused. And I know that right now, you're standing in Dante's house, making him weak. I don't know what you... Don't insult my intelligence. Dante Caruso is in love with you. It's written all over him. And love makes men stupid. Papers rustled. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. Tonight. Disappear. I'll provide money, a new identity, whatever you need. In exchange, you let Dante get back to being the leader we need. And if I refuse, then people die. Maybe Dante's sister, maybe his nephew, maybe Dante himself. Your choice. The line went dead. I stood there, shaking as the implications crashed over me. Vittorio was right. I was Dante's weakness, and in his world, weakness got people killed. I looked around the beautiful house, thought about Dante's smile, his gentle hands, the way he made me feel seen. Then I thought about his family, his empire, everything he'd built, and I knew what I had to do. I packed quickly, just the essentials in a small bag. Left the expensive clothes, the jewelry he'd tried to give me yesterday. Took only what was mine. The hardest part was the note. Dante, I'm not strong enough for your world. I'm sorry, please don't look for me. See a lie, all of it. But he'd believe it. He'd think I was just another person who'd abandoned him, and maybe that would make it easier. Maybe he'd move on, find someone suitable, someone who could stand beside him without making him vulnerable. The guards were at the front and back doors, but there was a third exit, the garden door from the kitchen, leading to a side alley. I'd noticed it days ago, always unlocked, probably for staff. I slipped out at 1:30 a.m., into the cold November night. The streets were empty, dangerous. I had $40 left, enough for a bus ticket, maybe a cheap motel. I'd figure out the rest later. I always did. I'd made it 3 blocks when the car pulled up beside me. Black SUV, tinted windows. My heart stopped. The window rolled down. Marco sat in the driver's seat, expression unreadable. Get in, Miss Carter. I can't. I won't let him. He's not in the car. Marco's voice was tired. Please, just get in. Something in his tone made me obey. We drove in silence, not back to the brownstone, somewhere else. A warehouse district, dark and abandoned. Fear spiked through me. Where are we going? To save a foolish girl from making a terrible mistake. The SUV stopped outside a warehouse with broken windows. Marco opened my door. Inside. The 2nd floor. Don't make me regret this. The building smelled like rust and old motor oil. I climbed the stairs, hands shaking, and emerged into a vast open space. Dante stood by a window, silhouetted against the city lights. He didn't turn when I entered. You were leaving. Not a question. A statement, heavy with betrayal. I had to. Because Vittorio called you. My breath caught. How did you... I know everything, Charlotte. I told you that. Now he turned, and the pain in his eyes was devastating. Did you really think I wouldn't have your phone monitored? That I wouldn't protect you from exactly this? He said people would die. Your family... My family is strong. They'll survive. He moved toward me slowly. But I won't. Not if you leave. That's not fair. No, it's not. He stopped an arm's length away. Nothing about this is fair. Not to you, not to me. But it's real, Charlotte. What I feel, it's real. Tears burned my eyes. You barely know me. I know you take sugar in your espresso. I know you read the end of books first, because you can't stand the suspense. I know you hum when you think no one's listening. I know you're terrified of being a burden, so you make yourself invisible. His voice cracked. I know you think you're ordinary when you're the most extraordinary thing that's ever happened to me. Dante, I went to that meeting tonight ready to walk away from everything. The business, the family, all of it. If Vittorio had demanded I choose, I would have chosen you. He pulled something from his pocket. Instead, I made him a different offer. He opened his hand. A ring sat in his palm, vintage, elegant, a single diamond surrounded by smaller stones. This was my grandmother's. She gave it to me before she died, told me to give it to someone who made me remember why family matters, why love matters. His eyes met mine. Marry me, Charlotte. The world tilted. What? Marry me. Not someday, not eventually. Now. Tonight. He took my hand, slid the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. Become my wife, part of my family, protected by our name, our power. Untouchable. That's insane. Yes. But it's also the only way to keep you safe. Once you're a Caruso, Vittorio can't touch you. No one can. His hands cupped my face. I'm not asking you to love me, not yet. I'm asking you to let me protect you. Let me keep you. And maybe, someday, you'll feel for me what I already feel for you. Which is? Everything. The word was raw, honest. You're everything, Piccola. My first thought in the morning, my last prayer at night. The reason I want to be better than what I was raised to be. I looked at the ring, gleaming in the dim light, looked at him. This beautiful, dangerous man who'd turned my world inside out. I don't understand why you want me. Because you see me. Not the Caruso heir, not the Mafia boss, not the monster. You see me, and you're not afraid. He smiled, sad and sweet. Or maybe you are afraid, and you choose to stay anyway. That's even braver. Your family will never accept this. They already have. That was my deal with Vittorio. I marry you, make you legitimate, and he backs off. He gets assurance that I'm thinking with my head, making a strategic alliance. His thumb brushed my cheek. He doesn't need to know it's also my heart. What if I say no? Pain flashed across his face. Then I let you go. Give you money, protection, a new identity, everything you need to start over. His voice dropped to a whisper, and I spend the rest of my life wondering what we could have been. The ring was warm on my finger. I thought about the past 5 days, the safety, the attention, the way he looked at me like I hung the moon. Then I thought about going back to nothing. To loneliness. To being invisible. This is crazy, I whispered. I know. We barely know each other. We'll learn. You're a criminal. I'm also the man who wants to spend his life making you happy. He pressed his forehead to mine. Say yes, Charlotte. Take a chance on me. On us. I should have said no. Should have run while I still could. Instead, I kissed him. Deep and desperate and terrified and hopeful all at once. Yes. I breathed against his lips. Yes. His arms came around me, crushing me close, and I felt him shaking. Relief, joy, fear, all of it. Grazie a Dio, he whispered. Grazie a Dio. We were married 3 hours later, not in a church. Dante explained that would take too long, require too many approvals. Instead, a judge he knew, clearly terrified and clearly in his pocket, met us at a private office. Marco and another guard served as witnesses. I wore the green sweater and jeans. Dante kept his blood-stained suit. Nothing about it was traditional or romantic. But when he slipped a platinum band onto my finger, beside his grandmother's ring, and whispered "Ti amo" like a prayer, I felt something shift in my chest. This was real. I was married. To a Mafia boss. After 5 days. It should have felt wrong. Instead, it felt like coming home. We returned to the brownstone as the sun rose. Dante carried me over the threshold. Tradition, he said. smiling that devastating smile, and took me straight to his bedroom, not the guest room. His room. Massive bed with dark sheets, windows overlooking the private garden, everything decorated in blacks and grays. Our room, he corrected, reading my expression. Everything I have is yours now. He made love to me like I was fragile and fierce all at once, gentle hands mapping every inch of my skin, whispered Italian that I didn't understand but felt in my bones. When I cried, overwhelmed by sensation and emotion, he kissed away my tears and held me like I was the most precious thing in his world. Afterwards, wrapped in his arms, I felt the weight of the ring on my finger. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now?" He kissed my temple. "Now I introduce you to my family. Show the world that Charlotte Caruso is under my protection." His hand splayed possessively across my stomach. "And we build a life. Just like that. Just like that." He pulled me closer. "You're mine now, Mowgli Mia, my wife. And I take care of what's mine." The possessiveness should have bothered me. Instead, after years of being invisible, it felt like being seen, being claimed, being wanted. What about Marcus? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Dante's expression went dark. "What about him? You said you'd handle it. What did you do?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then, he no longer works at Whitmore and Associates. His apartment lease was terminated, his bank accounts are frozen pending investigation, and his new girlfriend left him when certain photographs surfaced. Dante. He threw you out in the rain, Charlotte. Filed false charges. Tried to erase you. His eyes met mine, unapologetic. I simply showed him what it feels like to lose everything. I should have been horrified, should have protested, but something small and vindictive in me felt satisfied. "Thank you," I whispered. His smile was sharp. Always. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Meeting Dante's family, his sisters who eyed me suspiciously before his youngest, Sophia, pulled me aside and whispered, "Thank God. He's been so lonely." His brothers, formal and assessing, until the middle one, Luca, winked and said, "She's brave. I like her." Sunday dinner at Nonna's, where she hugged me tight and whispered in Italian. Dante translated later, "She said I look at you the way Nono looked at her. Like you're my whole world." Learning to navigate his world. The politics, the careful words, the guards who followed us everywhere. Learning when to speak and when to stay silent. Learning to read Dante's moods, the small tells that meant danger, or stress, or need. He was patient with all of it, teaching me Italian phrases, showing me his businesses, the legitimate ones at least, including me in decisions about the house, about dinners, about everything. "You're not just my wife," he said one night, pulling me onto his lap in his office. "You're my partner. Your voice matters." 3 months later, I stood in Nonna's restaurant, helping prepare for Sophia's engagement party, and realized I was happy, genuinely, impossibly happy. I had a family, a purpose, a man who loved me so completely it sometimes took my breath away. Yes, his world was dangerous. Yes, there were still threats, Vittoria watching from a distance, other families testing boundaries. Yes, I sometimes woke from nightmares about men with guns and blood on white marble, but Dante was always there, pulling me close, whispering promises in Italian until I calmed. "Sei al sicuro," he'd murmur. "Sei mia, sei amata." You're safe. You're mine. You're loved. And I was. All of those things. "Charlotte?" Sophia appeared beside me, gorgeous in a red dress. "Dante's looking for you. I found him in the garden, standing by the fountain, staring at nothing." "Hey." I slipped my hand into his. "What's wrong?" He looked down at me, and something in his expression made my breath catch. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. That's what terrifies me." He pulled me close. "I keep waiting for it to end, for you to wake up and realize you married a monster, for something to take you from me. Dante, I love you." He said it fiercely. "I know we did this backwards, married first, fell in love later. But I love you, Charlotte, so much it scares me. Tears blurred my vision. I think I have since you asked if I was safe. Since you looked at me like I mattered. He kissed me then, deep and desperate, like I was air and he'd been drowning. When we finally broke apart, I pressed my hand to his chest, feeling his racing heart. I was so lost, I whispered, standing in the rain with nothing, and then I found your card, and it led me to you. Maybe it was fate, maybe it was luck, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Promise me. I promise. I stood on my toes, kissed him softly. You're stuck with me, Dante Caruso, for better or worse, till death do us part. His smile was brilliant, transformative. He swept me up, spinning me around while I laughed, and I realized this was what I'd been searching for my entire life. Not money or security or even love exactly, belonging. I belonged here, with him, in this strange, dangerous, beautiful world we'd built together. That night, as we lay tangled together in our bed, Dante's hand resting on my stomach, where our future might someday grow, I thought about the girl I'd been, lost, invisible, desperate. She'd used a stranger's card and accidentally stumbled into a fairy tale. A dark, complicated, sometimes terrifying fairy tale. But mine. Ours. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. What are you thinking? Dante murmured, half asleep. That I'm glad Marcus kicked me out. Glad I was desperate enough to use your card. Glad everything fell apart so it could come together like this. He chuckled, the sound rumbling through his chest. I'm glad I forgot my card at Aurelio's. Glad you found it. Glad you waited 6 months to use it. He kissed my hair. Glad you walked into my life and turned everything upside down. No regrets? Not one. His arms tightened around me. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, amore mio. My unexpected blessing. My salvation. I smiled against his skin. That's very dramatic. I'm Italian. We're dramatic about love. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, safe and warm, while the city hummed outside our windows, and guards patrolled our garden, and somewhere, in the darkness, the empire Dante had built continued to turn. But in our room, in our bed, in our little piece of eternity, there was only us, two broken people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way. And somehow, impossibly, made each other whole. The rain that had once smelled like metal and regret now tapped against our windows like a lullaby, washing away the past, blessing the future, and I was finally home.